Honestly, I usually avoid the extraction genre entirely. I keep trying these games because they sound awesome on paper, but the moment-to-moment gameplay always falls flat. The developers are obsessed with overcomplicating basic systems just to fake difficulty. So when I saw Mistfall Hunter running an open beta, my expectations were on the floor. It says it's PvPvE extraction game, but the combat and presentation are pulled straight out of like Elden Ring. That's a pretty massive pivot for a genre usually dominated by tactical shooters. We need to see if that heavy melee combat actually works in a sandbox where other players are hunting you, or is it just another honeymoon phase before players figure out the broken meta builds and ruin it for everyone else? Before we drop in, we gotta look at the classes and the character creator. You get several distinct options right from the start. I checked out the Rogue Shadow Strix, the Seer that looks like a support character, and the Withered Knight who looks exactly like Ciri from The Witcher, like she walked into a wrong franchise entirely. But I went with the Black Arrow. It's a dedicated bow class, gotta stay on brand and see how range combat feels when everyone else is aggressively swinging swords. I have to give the devs credit for putting a full character creator in early beta. Most extraction games skip this entirely to push you into a match faster and cut costs. Having actual customization grounds you before you even take your first steps into the zone. I scrolled through the presets, found a bowl cut, but ultimately picked the balding option to look like a ghost. Got the character locked in, looking ripped. Selected the loadout. Time to ride the ship into the mist and see how the game actually plays. First thing you notice loading into the map is the aesthetic. Gives off massive Elden Ring and Dark Souls vibes from the frame 1. The environment is dark and ruined. Fits the tension of an extraction game perfectly. Even small details like skeletons trying to climb up ledges add to the grim style. I spent the first few minutes testing controls and firing arrows at the walls. I need to get the feel for the projectile physics and understand animation logs before fighting a real player. Movement feels kind of like a new world. You aren't sprinting around max speed like a normal extraction shooter where movement tech dominates. Gathering loot is fast and doesn't break the momentum. I picked up some leather braces, healing elixirs, and camp items like fish bones and pottery shards. Healing system deserves a mention right away because it just works. It's incredibly simple and respects your time mid-fight. You loot the elixir, put it into your hotbar, and press a button to use it instantly. No convoluted medical systems where you're splinting your limbs or managing blood loss timers for 10 minutes. I pushed into the ruined courtyard and managed to kill a boss guarding a chest. But right after getting the kill, I got hit with the mandatory death tutorial. Seems like a scripted event, but it teaches you the stakes of the map. If a rival guild hunter kills you in PvP, you don't revive under any circumstance. After respawning, I killed the basic woodling enemy that immediately gave me the escape summon item. I navigated to the extraction point, used the return chime, and got out safely. The first extraction was complete success. Run stats proved the combat loop works. The first run survived, baseline mechanics established. So what happens back at the hub when you want to progress? Loading back into the hub after a successful run, you immediately notice the stash quality of life. There's a single dedicated button to dump all your extracted loot straight into the stash in a one click. I can't overstate how important this is for the long-term health of the game. Inventory management is usually the biggest hurdle. It's the primary reason players burn out in this genre. Playing Tetris with your backpack for 20 minutes between every single match completely kills your momentum. Beyond the stash, I checked out the Pip's Plan merchant at the auction house. The vendor is actually the small masked goblin that seems to have a big ram pet. I also checked out the talent trees and game modes. The game has a full talent system that allows for massive build variety right from the start. I saw specific upgrade paths for the Frostblight Bomb, requiring level 5, and various different arrows. I checked the Battlefed talent that reduces cooldowns, but ultimately took the measured pace. It synergizes perfectly with the 2 hunter arrows I have equipped, but the biggest praise I can give the devs is having dedicated solo mode available immediately. That decision changed everything about the new player experience and solo progression. You aren't forced to drop in solo just to get stomped by coordinated trios on comms. You can actually take your time learning the map, farm your materials, and get into fair one-on-one PvP fights. It's a massive positive, makes the game viable for a huge portion of the players who refuse to deal with the group scaling. The hub systems are incredibly solid, well thought out, and they actually respect your time. Time to gear up, swap between my 2 equipped bows, and drop back in for round 2. My second drop was focused entirely on the map exploration and understanding the combat pacing. Right away, it became obvious that the game is very dodge heavy and punishes greedy plays. You gotta manage your stamina bar carefully and rely on the dodge roll to avoid taking massive damage. Plays kinda like traditional Souls game in that regard. Positioning matters more than raw aiming skill. I found a small safe zone marked by a strange NPC and took a moment to check the environment. Map design is pretty dense. You got detailed shells, broken paths, and natural cover to break line of sight. The combat flow with the bow feels like acceptable for now, but I have some serious concerns about the scaling. I'm honestly worried it might feel too slow or clunky long term against highly mobile targets. Every single shot has a noticeable draw time and heavy animation lock rooting you in place. Forces you to play more carefully and always kind of keep your distance. But that slow pacing might become massive liability when you are forced into fast PvP against aggressive melee players. While testing the effective range of my arrows, I accidentally aggroed massive boss standing inside the archway, realizing instantly my damage output was way too low. I was completely undergeared for the fight. I had to back off immediately before the boss wiped my run and took my gear. The extraction loop is smooth and pretty forgiving, but only if you know exactly when to quit. So I decided to play it safe, cut my losses, and found some stairs leading up to the extraction point. I found the exit portal and extracted early after spending just 3 minutes in the match. Survived the second run and secured full backpack of raw crafting materials. With another successful run done, more complex progression systems start unlocking back at the hub. Back at the hub, my progression let me unlock more skills and arrow types. I grabbed concussion arrows, standard steel arrows that pierce targets, and splatter arrows. There was a talent called Marksman that makes fully drawn arrow home in on an enemy near a crosshair. Equipped it immediately because I never trust my own aim in a high-stress extraction fight. One massive positive I have to point out is the loot economy and the offline progression systems. Loot drops in the maps are purposefully and thankfully not overwhelming. You aren't constantly drowning in hundreds of useless junk items that just clutter your stash. They also put in a scavenger squad mode that acts similarly to Monster Hunter's offline progression mechanic. Your idle characters passively gather raw materials for you while you are completely logged off. For my third run, I used a jump pad to reach high chest and found a high tier amulet, rolled with 5 attack and physical damage multiplier and a gem slot. Also, when you identify more rare items, they automatically go into your safe pocket. That's an incredible quality of life feature, guaranteeing you keep some of the best drops, even if you die. During this run, I also noticed severe damage fall-off with the bow, extremely long distance. That's a pretty smart balanced decision by the devs to keep. Completely prevents players from safely sniping targets across the map without taking any actual risk. Instead, I relied on kind of a AoE tactics, just lining up multiple enemies and then shooting steel arrows right through them. I finished the long distance exploration quest at the nameless ship grave quickly to keep the pace fast. This successful third run pushed my character further and secured enough materials to test the final systems. They handled the onboarding process exceptionally well here, incredibly rare for this punishing genre. It slowly introduces new players to test their skills, the questing system and the hub NPCs one step at a time. It doesn't drop you into the deep end and expect you to read third-party wiki just to understand basic crafting. Speaking of crafting, I finally unlocked the Forge run by the ghostly NPC. I gained access to the gear repair station and quick loadout presets. Having a dedicated solo mode available immediately makes the entire experience viable for players who just want to rely on personal skill. Visually, the Elden Ring dark fantasy aesthetic works perfectly for the high-stakes extraction formula, makes the environment feel genuinely dangerous, and makes the stakes of losing your gear feel much heavier. As for the technical performance, the beta client was mostly stable through my couple hours of playtime. I did hit some pretty hard frame drops in some spots on the maps, so that's definitely something they have to fix. But my final call on Mistfall Hunter is pretty simple. This actually isn't the worst extraction game I've played recently. Shows a genuine mechanical promise. It actually manages to blend deliberate Souls-like combat with kind of a solid extraction loop. At least early on, it feels pretty free from kind of a bloated mechanics and tedious inventory Tetris that drags down most of the extraction games. So the beta definitely gets firm thumbs up from me. But now, I want to know what you guys think about Mistfall Hunter. Does it have a potential to be kind of a big extraction game, or is it gonna be a dead on arrival? Let me know in the comments if you're trying the open beta. Thanks for the time. I hope to see you in the next one, and back to the grind.